Well, hello everybody. My name is Mark Nathan. I am just give a little bit of context. I work for a law firm specifically for early stage technology companies and startups based in Austin, but we have offices in Dallas, Seattle, DC, Denver, Boston, and Washington, DC. I always forget that one. My specific role, I'm not a lawyer, even though I work for a law firm. I do business development for the firm, and my specific role is helping new clients come into the firm, which is pretty transparent and obvious. But the second half of my job is I actually introduce a lot of my startup clients with capital sources, mostly VCs, angels, angel networks, banks, that kind of thing. In that role, and I have the best job in the entire world, I get to talk to founders and CEOs and C suite executives all day, every day, as well as investors to figure out what the temperature is for the environment we're currently in. And so, in that regard, one of my favorite startups in the Austin area is Sterling Smith with SandBox Commerce.
You're too kind,
Uh,
Mark.
the people that put this whole project together did not know we were friends beforehand, but they're certainly going to know it afterward. So, the in order to really get this thing going, we want to focus on the topic here of retailing. I want to introduce my good friend Sterling Smith. Sterling, can you give you a little stuff of background and tell a little bit people about more what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and thank you for the kind words.
Certainly true.
Also, Click Studios, business unusual, so timely. Thank you for having me. So my name is Sterling Smith, and I'm an engineer turned entrepreneur. I started my career after majoring in computer science at Walmart, worked abroad for a couple of years for Lockheed Martin, and then finished my corporate stint with about 5 years at Booz Allen Hamilton before starting my first company, moving to Austin and starting my first company, which is a software development agency that's 6 years strong, still here in Austin. I'm not as involved as I used to be, but I started my second company, which is relevant to this discussion, called SandBox Commerce, just over 3 years ago. And it's been a wild ride. And just to give you a high level overview of what SandBox is and what we do at SandBox, what we've built is we've built a platform that helps Shopify and big commerce retailers who are typically growing their online presence. We help them by allowing them to build a native mobile app, just drag and drop. They can build an app using our technology for their brand to sell their products like they would on the web in less than 15 minutes. Just drag and drop, think Wix or Squarespace. And then whenever they're ready to launch their application, we assign a launch coach to them to help them find out how to best use that. And so it kind of felt like the first 2 years that we were building, and any entrepreneurs that are on this call can probably relate, that we were fighting kind of an uphill battle. But the last year has definitely begun to gradually be downhill, and then a little bit less difficult to convince retailers that they probably need a native mobile app for their brand. But most recently, obviously, and we'll talk about this more in more detail momentarily, Mark, we've just seen an influx of retailers reaching out to us to find out how they can best leverage technology to engage with their customers in a time like this. So again, thanks for having me here, guys. And Mark, thanks for taking the time out to chat with me today.
I'm happy to do it. I'm always happy to chat with you, whether it's on camera or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question, and once again, just to kind of bookend the conversation and give yourself a little bit more of an understanding of, and the audience a little bit more of what you're doing, walk us through a typical client of yours, a
Yeah.
client who knows they need to be online, knows they need to have a mobile presence, knows they understand they have to sell online and maybe not just have a catalog, but talk to us about a typical client for you.
Yeah, so you might think of a typical client being anywhere from a food and beverage brand to a CPG company or an apparel company, and they typically are generating at least $2 million in revenue online. So they have a Shopify site, and they're seeing a tremendous growth. And at some point, they noticed that overnight, seemingly that 60% of their traffic is coming from mobile devices, and they're like, okay, so the trend that we kind of cross the chasm here, and so how can we provide the best user experience for these customers online? And we see that some of the bigger they see that some of the bigger brands that they're in their space are leveraging technology like mobile apps, but they haven't pulled the trigger on building that, because traditionally it's been too risky. Frankly, it's cost too much money, it's taken too much time, and they don't know how to make it work on their own. And so our platform solves those problems. So we effectively don't just give them the technology and say, go figure it out yourself. What we'll do is we will take them through a 90-day onboarding where they're assigned a customer success specialist that does two things during that 90-day period. They make sure that that they launch on time and begin to engage with their existing customers. And our customer success specialists also keep their ears to the ground to understand what exactly we can do, what mobile technology can do to help make their platform more sticky and engaging. So we're like, hey, can we incorporate a scheduling component, or can we incorporate augmented reality? And so we don't just stop at a commerce-driven app. We add in layers of engagement. And so that's really what the key, I think, to our success has been, is not just stopping at commerce and creating lifestyle brands on mobile devices.
And maybe you could talk just a touch about the difference between your mobile experience and a typical responsive website, if you even have that.
Yeah, no, see, thank you for asking that. So think about it. So most of the websites of your favorite brands, for anyone on this call, if you want to buy something from an Anthropologie or a Nordstrom, in some cases you'll go to the responsive websites, and you'll see there that you can do everything that you need that you absolutely need to purchase a product from their website. However, if you are what we consider to be a brand loyalist, that 20% of a brand or retailer that's generating the 80% of the revenue for that brand or retailer, then you likely would benefit from downloading a mobile app. And so what traditionally do mobile apps do for consumers? They allow them to hear about the latest and greatest that's coming out, especially if it's a brand like Howler Brothers here in Austin that does.
For those that don't know, Howler Brothers, just to touch on this, is a really great, very rugged outdoor men's brand that has been just screaming over the last, I believe, 6 years.
Yeah, they have.
And they're just one of those. It's an iconic Austin look. It's an iconic Austin brand. There's not a dude in Austin without a Howler Brothers shirt somewhere in their closet.
Or hat, yeah.
And or a hat, yeah.
And they come from the same family tree. One of the founders came from Yeti, right? And so they have like this very unique look. And in addition to that, they do limited runs on things. So if you want to know when the next line is coming out, and you're a brand loyalist, you'd want their mobile application because it lets you know when that's coming out. Kendra Scott might allow you to customize a necklace or an earring in a mobile app experience. But really, what retailers love and what consumers get a lot of benefit from are push notifications. That's one of the low-hanging fruit that we have been iterating on over the past several years to provide the most value and ease of use for our customers. And so, among those, there's augmented reality and there's also attribution. One quick stat that I want to share with you, Marc, is that Peet's Coffee took a note from the page of Starbucks and hired a third-party company to generate traffic to generate installs of their new mobile application. And they pay this third-party agency $75 per install. And the reason why they pay them is because of attribution. If you can connect the person that typically comes into the coffee shop, connect with them on a mobile device, you're able to attribute purchases to that person and provide value-added services that increases their LTV, their lifetime value over time. And so that's how important a mobile app is for a brand like Peet's Coffee. And so that's the kind of value that our applications bring to our customers.
Makes perfect sense. And attribution, as we know in the digital world, is absolutely critical.
Certainly.
If you don't know where your people are coming from, if you don't know who your customer is, there's really no way to serve them.
Absolutely.
And so that's what every major platform, every smaller platform, every major retailer and every smaller retailer is looking for. And I understand that's what you enable.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, just to come full circle on that, you can't find out more about a customer than if they are engaging with your brand via a native mobile app. I don't need to go into too much detail, but you can probably imagine location awareness, if they've logged in using social, things that they like on Facebook, how much time they spent looking at products. There is a wealth of data about each record per user that is engaging with your brand on mobile. And then you can use that data to engage with them omni-channel, whether that's via the app or text message using our Twilio integration or email marketing. You can basically use the data that's collected in this, what we call the hub of the digital commerce experience of a mobile app, and engage with them omni-channel over the long term.
Got it. And so the title of this particular segment of the webinar is Retailers Thriving in Digital Reality. So I think we really should get into that.
Yeah.
What do you think, and let's just call this, for lack of a better term, since we're only a month into the American version of the shutdown, let's just call it the Great Pivot for time being.
Yeah.
How are not just your customers, but how are you pivoting in your own business to make sure that you can enable the transactions that your customers need?
Yeah, no, that's great. Fortunately, we find ourselves in a very fortunate, for lack of better words, place. I mean, SandBox Commerce has been fully remote. Our team has been fully remote since the middle of 2017. So as many traditional companies, enterprise companies and smaller companies have transitioned to working from home, my team has been doing that since 2017. So apart from taking a beat to like make sure that our homes were in order, it's been business as usual. We've done a lot more video conferencing and have slowly, I've got a team of developers, so they're slowly becoming more and more accustomed to video conferencing, but generally speaking, didn't miss a beat there. From a product standpoint, I made the decision almost immediately to stop any new feature development that didn't specifically solve the problems that retailers are experiencing due to COVID-19 and all the things that come along with that. So we had like this roadmap to do all sorts of interesting things, but we said, let's just pause and focus on and listen and solve problems that our customers and prospective customers have expressed. In addition to that, we also did a hiring freeze because retaining the talent that we've worked so hard to acquire to date is critical. And so we wanted to make sure that, our current employees have everything that they need to feel secure and really focus on continuing to build out the product as is today. So those are the two things that we did. And I think that the benefit is primarily that it's led us to learn in the customer research department, from our existing customers and new customers that curbside pickup is really important. So we have some offerings that are going to be coming out that are kind of, leveraging things that we've already done to help really standardize how consumers engage with retailers using with purchases that are originating on mobile devices from here on out. And so we believe that there should be a standardization, and we believe that SandBox Commerce is in a unique position to help with that standardization.
Excellent, because I think what you said earlier is right. There is no standardization. I mean, everybody, major retailers, smaller retailers, everybody's really just trying to scramble to figure it out. And you offer them a set of tools and templates and really processes and workflows to figure out how to do the one thing that everybody's talking about, which is curbside pickup.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Marc and I just had a chance to touch base right before the call, and I mentioned to him, I said, hey, listen, retailers are using bubblegum and duct tape to figure out how to bolt on, processes for their consumers to continue to engage with their brand. If you look at your favorite coffee shop or your favorite restaurant, they all have their own way of driving traffic to their business in this really interesting time. And we have really kind of been paying attention to that and looking for ways to really solve the problem for consumers and also for brands and retailers. And we have some really interesting stuff coming out in the near future.
Excellent. So for our audience's benefit, what are you doing to be transparent with your customers and talk to your customers? And really, you said you do a lot of active listening, which is obvious from your
Yep.
business and obvious from your product. But let's get into specifics. How are you actually doing the active listening, and how are you transmitting that communication back to your customers?
Yes. So if you visit our website, if there are any brands or retailers who visit our website, literally, I'd say 18 hours a day, and
Mm-hmm.
you ping us and you say, hey, tell me more about SandBox, or if you're an existing customer and you have a question or you're having an issue, odds are that the person that you're speaking with, whenever they engage, is me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guy at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. who is the front line of communication, and I really relish that opportunity because I feel as though it gives me the insight that I need in order to, help drive the direction of where we're going on a daily basis. So from a listening standpoint, at least 24 times a day, I'm engaging with someone on our website. And it's increasing actually, and they're just asking us, "Hey, what's the easiest way for me to do this?" Or can I extend my trial? And at this time, where it's really good to kind of hear that feedback and ensure that we're adding value and solving problems in real time and as quickly as possible for our customers. And then from a communication standpoint and transparency, writing has been very difficult for me in the past, but I've kind of made a commitment to release a blog post on a weekly basis to share with our audience our perspective about the future of retail and how to solve these problems. So if you visit my personal blog at sterlingsmith.me or our company blog.sandboxcommerce.com, you'll see on a weekly basis, and you can also subscribe to the newsletters there. You'll see that we're talking about real problems that brands, retailers of all sizes are experiencing, and our perspective around how to, thrive in a time like this.
Well, as somebody who writes a weekly newsletter, I can tell you I know that consistency counts, and I can only imagine doing that from the perspective of a CEO, much less a CEO of a very fast emerging startup company with a very lean office space and not just space, but obviously you've got a lean group of people working for you.
Yep.
And the truth is that I feel pretty strongly that your messaging and your consistency is really what counts here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I think that obviously it's a huge opportunity for us to, help raise awareness about the good work we've been doing. But in addition to that, I just feel like there's a void. Before this, retailers did not know, and I think that was part of the hesitation, is they didn't know how to best leverage technology to engage with customers as the industry has been changing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, since the beginning of COVID-19 or the Rona, depending upon how you like to phrase it, we've had retailers who from all over the country who have 40,000 square feet furniture stores in Seattle, or brick and mortar furniture stores in South Texas. Retail stores in South Texas who don't even have e-commerce websites, and and they're scrambling to figure out how to turn the spigot back on because it was shut off almost overnight. And there's a lot there's a lot of free information that I think that we can provide to help, lend a helping hand, and then hopefully help solve problems as we learn more about the problems that they're experiencing along the way.
Sure. And I'm just curious, you've been at this for a long time. You've met dozens, if not hundreds, of retailers and people who are just starting to dip their toe in the digital waters. What are you noticing about them? Give us an idea, if you don't mind, about what's their hesitation? Why are they not doing this? Are they too busy making money because of foot traffic? Are they Luddites? They just hate technology. They don't like the web. Are they just simply ignorant of the fact that there's this brand new channel called digital that's actually getting more customers to more people for cheaper than ever? Why are they hesitating, or why are they late adopters, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'll say a couple things. A rising tide raises all boats. Now, so I'll start by saying that Shopify just last year went from supporting 500,000 retailers to 1 million retailers in 12 months. And their stock, I think, grew 190% in the last 12 months. And
That's
so
amazing.
it seems as though, and we grow alongside them, and so it seems as though retailers are beginning, even before this, we're beginning to figure out that they've got to embrace digital. But even still, there are some retailers that haven't. We had a retailer in New York reach out to us through one of our investors that shared, hey, we've got three high fashion men's clothing stores in New York City, and we're only generating $100,000 a month online. My friends who are in this space tell me we should be doing 10 times as much as that. Can you
Mm-hmm.
help me? And I explored, what's going on? Like, what was your hesitation? He says, and like, what have you done so far to engage customers? He says, we have one of our sales guys at our store is manage our e-commerce websites. And I said, okay, let's put together a roadmap to get you guys, ready for the new normal. And so we've been working together over the last several weeks to help, help them with digital transformation with a piece that's web-based, mobile-based, et cetera. But I think that the key really is, what have retailers, what have I learned from retailers about being, that's made them hesitant? It's that it's been risky to expend time and energy when time is limited, margins are slim, and you're doing well enough in many cases, doing it the old-fashioned way. But there are digitally native brands across the country that are in pretty good shape right now. And I know that a lot of the traditional retailers are wishing that they had a little bit of that secret sauce. And so I think the key is that lean into the technologies, lean into the stacks, the Shopifys and the SandBox Commerce that make it easy and provide resources to help you, really transform your digital footprint. Is kind of the high level answer.
Makes sense. And what are you, so I'm just curious about this. I happen to work with quite a few CPG companies and quite a few direct to consumer companies. And they've essentially leapfrogged a lot of the retail problems. But at the same time, they don't have the presence of the retailers themselves. I mean, there is something to be said for a brick and mortar store with a big sign out there and a map that has Google Maps on it and all that. So I'm very curious what you're seeing or what your customers really are seeing in both the benefit of being a retailer today with an established brand trying to get into digital versus being a digitally native brand trying to get into the customer's mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that once the dust is settled, there was a discussion a couple of years ago is brick and mortar the right way, is digitally native the right way, and I think it's a blend. If you look at brands like Allbirds who were exclusively digitally native and they've begun to expand into the brick and mortar space conservatively, I think that they thrive because you're able to go in there and touch and feel, and many people need that tactile experience. But they spend a lot of good advertising money on ads and really raising awareness. So I don't think it's a either or. I think it's a blend of both. And what we're looking to solve, the
Looks like you cut out on us a little bit, but I have a feeling you meant the solution that SandBox Commerce does. It sort of bridges the gap between bricks and clicks. Looks like we lost him, but I guarantee he'll come back shortly. There he comes. So ultimately, e-commerce is not now, this is my opinion only, I can't speak for Sterling about this. E-commerce is its own category. It's no longer just an add-on to existing retailers because retail was all we had for the last 200 years. E-commerce is now standing on its own. And in this time and day, especially with COVID coming and lockdowns and shutdowns, as far as the eye can see, it seems to me that there is absolutely no stopping a digital first, e-commerce first business. The direct consumer brands, as Sterling mentioned, one of them was Allbirds. I'm sure we've all heard of Casper mattresses and Warby Parker frames and a bunch of others. Away for the suitcases, those kinds of things. They realize that your customers are now mobile first, digital native, no longer just walking around malls, because the truth is none of us are going back to malls anytime soon. And even some of the newer retail open air places and strip malls are not going to be a place where people want to gather. So while he comes
Okay, can you hear me
back on,
now,
sure
Mark?
can. Keep going, please.
Yeah,
I held the
man,
fort a little bit.
I heard it. I heard everything you were saying. It was
Oh, well,
fantastic.
I hope you agree
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, no, I said that. Yeah, we're looking really for the holy grail, which is we're really trying to solve the problem of how can we connect the in-store and online shopping experience using mobile technology. And yeah, that was my answer. But yeah, I heard you were basically alluding to the same. So thank you for that, Mark.
I think so.
Yeah.
Very good. So as we start to think about what the new normal looks like, give me your vision of what the new normal is. What does a customer need right now? What are they thinking? What are they doing? How are they buying from brands? Like, walk me through that because you have a lot of experience in that space.
Yeah, are you referring to consumers or are you referring to the retailers?
Let's start with consumers because that's the one thing that's the big unknown. Retailers are going to have to skate where the puck is going on the consumer side. So I'm curious from your perspective, what is a
Yeah.
consumer thinking about right now as far as buying and using commerce?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself as I am a consumer as well. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know anyone, other folks that are on this call can probably relate with this time that we've been using responsibly, self quarantining and keeping social distances has been replaced or been augmented by purchases. I mean, I've done a lot of returns too. I don't keep everything. But the long story short is, I'm going first to those brands that I'm a brand loyalist to, and I'm just seeing what's going on. Like, is there anything that could make my life better? Doing a lot of food delivery to the house to prevent
Mm-hmm.
a need to going into grocery stores, and also not doing a lot of apparel shopping at this point. This is the first time I've worn a button down since COVID, but a lot of it's happening on my phone. It's happening
Mm-hmm.
on my phone. Even when I'm at my desk, I kind of restrict things like shopping to my phone or my tablet, and I just I don't know what the future looks like. I have I could give you my best guess, which is that even whenever restrictions loosen and we do come close to either herd immunity or a vaccine, then I'll tell you, it's not going to turn on immediately. And I think that consumer sentiment or consumer actions will change as a result. I think curbside pickup and not shaking hands, maybe bowing whenever we greet people, these things are going to be the new normal. And I think that we're just going to be more comfortable with working from home and more productive working from home and more comfortable having things delivered to us. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think from a consumer standpoint, I'm going to continue to purchase from my phone more than visit brands in person. But when I do, it's going to be those products that I need to put my hands on or sit in momentarily. But it's not going to be. I think that most purchases are going to originate from a mobile device.
Hmm.
And I've heard others say that as well. So that's not an original thought, but I tend to agree with that perspective.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's very clever, and I think that to me that's the same thing as well. I find that to be very true. I was looking up some electronic equipment just yesterday, and I knew that I needed to go see something and feel it and touch it, but you can't go into stores anymore. So my first instinct was not to look it up on my laptop and sit down at a big screen, keyboard, mouse
Yep.
environment. It was mobile because I knew that I could get some of the features like, as you mentioned earlier, augmented reality and 360-degree views, which we simply don't get on the web right now. But
Yeah.
mobile does enable that.
Yeah, and I also think that returns will increase as a result, commensurate to the amount of purchasing that's happening on phones. And so I think there will be best practices and workflows that are used to help mitigate that, hopefully preemptively. And so these are all things that you've got to. We spend a lot of time thinking about, obviously, at SandBox, but
Sure.
I think greater minds will pontificate about what the future looks like, but we are really trying to think through, in real time, how do we solve problems that our customers are experiencing, retailers and brands are experiencing today.
Excellent. Well, this has been fantastic. I'd like to know if you have anything else you'd like to leave us with because we're going to wrap up shortly. Any other tidbits or nuggets that you want to leave the audience?
No, definitely I encourage you, if you really are interested in the future of retail or you'd like to know more about how we're helping to solve problems, reach out to us at sandboxcommerce.com or follow us on our blog, which is blog.sandboxcommerce.com. Subscribe to that because I will continue to post our perspective on a weekly basis. But thanks again for your time,
stuff.
Mark and Michael. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and actually, it sounds like the next panel is having some trouble getting all into the green room. So if I could just ask one more question to so that we don't have our audience hanging out too long without a panelist or a panel going. Do you just have any general advice for retailers right now who are just trying to figure out how to get through this, whether they're on digital or not?
Yeah, so I would just general advice. I would say I would ask them, or I would suggest rather, that they use this time. I don't know if you guys are like me, but you may have chosen something personally or professionally to kind of that will bring you out of your comfort zone to some extent, to learn during this time. And well, to some extent, we probably are failing at that, or we're doing well. And I would say to retailers, and we've seen several retailers reach out to us, likely with this from the same impetus, which is, take a moment and lean in and look at products, technologies, or potential approaches to solving the problem of activating your customers and engaging with your customers now. Don't wait until the restrictions are loosened, because you might be it may be too late. So I would say, sign up for free trials of Shopify, BigCommerce, 3D Cart, check out SandBox Commerce, leverage the technology that's available to you. If any of our customers, obviously, like many of the people that work with your law firm, Mark, or at people that work with Click Studios, Michael, if anyone reaches out and says, hey, we need a little bit more time to trial your product, or can you provide us with a discount for the first, quartile or something? We are willing to work with brands who are going through it, because they're the lifeblood of our system, and so or of our company. So I would recommend that they take the time and learn something and actually try and produce something that helps to solve the problem. And I would also say, hey, don't be afraid to ask for a little extra, because most founders of companies like ours are doing everything they can to help support the ecosystem.
And Marc, and really doing my best to improvise here, since
little soft shoe.
We're at Marc, you work with a ton of CPG companies and are talking to folks in CPG all the time. Is there anything that you're hearing from them that you think should be relayed, or is there any advice that you're handing them right now that you think other folks should hear?
Well, two things. First of all, number one, I don't give advice anymore because nobody listens to it. I only have opinions.
Not true.
That's number one. Number two, the most surprising thing for me in the last 4 weeks has been almost all of my friends in CPG are actually doing quite well. And it's a surprise, because we hear that
that's awesome.
It's really great for everybody. The one thing that I am hearing is there's been supply chain issues. So getting certain materials, getting raw materials, especially getting packaging, is very difficult, once again, because we're dealing with a global pandemic, and most packaging and printing of packages and inserts are done in China. So it's been very difficult. But the actual commerce side of things and the actual brand building, especially the digital brand building that Sterling was mentioning, is actually doing quite well. I talked to a really interesting, very unique alcohol brand about 3 days ago, and very surprisingly, they're doing extraordinarily well, and they're a digital first brand. They don't have retail establishment. They don't have tastings. So from a CPG perspective, consumer packaged goods, most people think of consumer packaged goods as either food and beverage, and in that beverage, obviously, there's alcohol. And then you've got the other side of consumer packaged goods, which is apparel and accessories. They're actually doing quite well. Sterling mentioned a little bit of retail therapy to kind of get through the boredom and the doldrums of this. I think we're seeing a lot of that. I also see that because certain brands are not available, at regular outlets like grocery stores, Target, Walmart, and Whole Foods, they're actually experimenting and trying other things. In my opinion, and this is once again based on the opinions of a lot of the CPG companies I'm talking to, as strong as Amazon was a month ago, I think it's 10 times stronger now.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
And because of that, I think it actually puts a lot of fear into individual retailers, and therefore they're going on to do their own self-hosting like at Shopify. And so
either I am having some network difficulties or everyone else is. I'm assuming it's me. But it looks like we are getting all resolved in the other green room.
Okay.
So gonna transition out before our internet completely dies. But thank you all so much. This was super, super informative. And one more question for anybody who wants to get in touch with you. Is there any place that they should look to find you?
Yeah, on my end, sandboxcommerce.com, or you can also reach me on Twitter. Sterling Smith is my handle. Yeah.
And for me, all of my everything, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, is Marc, M-A-R-C, 1919, Marc 1919. Law firm is egannelson.com, and my newsletters are Texas Squared or Texas Boxed. I do a weekly for the Texas startup market, and I do a monthly for the CPG market.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. For everyone who is on the line, same as the last couple, if you just hang out here, you'll enter a waiting room for a couple minutes, and then you will be automatically entered into the next session. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Marc.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.